Hi, my name's George and I decided to change the air filters on my Africa Twin 2020 DCT Africa Twin. There were some challenges, especially with the crash bars. Depending on the type of crash bar that you've got on yours will determine the complexity of the job. Fortunately, these were quite simple. However, there were some difficulties accessing some of the bolts. I did a lot of research on the internet first up and familiarised myself with the job that had to be done. I then spent a little bit of time looking over the different parts, the different panels, looking at the bolts, assessing very carefully the work and the sort of things I had to be doing, and really familiarise myself with the parts and the bike. I was patient and took my time and worked very, very slowly. A lot of things I had to work out along the way, but it's not a difficult job. It's just one that takes a little bit of time. Now that I know how to do it, the next time will be much quicker and easier for me. But do some research. Have a look at other people's YouTube clips on how to change air filters on Africa Twins. This is a February 2020 Africa Twin DCT. A lot of the information on YouTube is on models prior to this, so hopefully this will help and inspire you to do the work on your bike. Good luck. Here are the tools that I used to complete this job. Hex keys, and one with a very, very short end on it to get into really tight places. I just simply took a normal one and ground off the end. So to have one like this is a really good idea. Got a one that fits on a ratchet, a spanner. This item was very useful to get out the press studs. Two spanners, 14 and a 10, and a 10mm socket as well. The ratchet, one of these to help me, give me a little bit of leverage on certain items that I was using. Wire cutters to snip the cable ties, and of course the foam. This was quite a large sheet, just to give you an idea of how much was used. This was this sheet of foam was this big, and I only used this much of it, cut into two equal halves for each of the pre-filters on the intake of the air filter. So they're the tools that I used and the components. Crash bars that may have to come out slightly in order to get to these panels which cover the air filters right there. There's a few screws that have to be loosened, and hopefully I'm not going to try and take anything off, but actually loosen them enough so that the crash bars come out as far as possible without removing the bolts and without moving the position of these, because I believe they can be a bit tricky to get back on. Now I've already removed the bash plate and the exhaust pipe guard from here, allowing me access to these bolts here, that one in particular, that one, and then there's one there as well which belongs to this, which holds this top crash bar and holds the engine crash bar as well. And it's mounted there, and then there are these frontal supports here which are pretty easy. Earlier in the week applied some WD-40 to these screw locations here, and so the bolts have had about a week for this WD-40 to seep in, and to my surprise they came out fairly easily. Need to remove this top panel here. There are 4 screws, 1/2 inch or 0.5 hex key, one there, same over the other side. I've already removed these press studs from around the perimeter of this panel. There's one there, there's one there, there and there. That accounts for 4, and then there's 2 more on the other side of the bike, and I'll show you where they are located. There's one there, and the other one is here. Okay, right up there. So, and on the other side will be another 2 for the other panel. I'm going to take off this panel here. There's 3 screws, 1, 2 and 3. At least you can see what's behind there. You can actually see the air filter compartment and it allows you to have a look down a little bit to see what's going on behind this larger panel. So I've already done it on this side. Through there you can see the air filter housing, the intake, the air filter intake, and it also gives you a little bit of a viewing into what's happening behind there. This is almost, if we can, so that comes out of there, that's come out of there. There's a little push stud in the middle here, and we can start to pull this panel out. As we can see, it's moved right out, but I just need that little bit more room to access this. There's a screw right here that has to be removed as well for this side. Of course, there's one over the other side there. So once we remove this, we're able to detach this entire front panel. Managed to take that panel off. It exposes now the air filter box and the intake. Now I'm going to try and put a pre-filter in there. Now there are 4 screws I've got to get. 1, 2, 3. Geez, I hope the other one's not behind the tank. I've had to loosen the crash bar, so I've removed those screws down there and removed one of the bolts here, so it's allowed that little bit of movement. It was a tight getting it out, so it's going to be tight getting it back in. How do we deal with the tank? Well, I've taken this bolt out which holds the tank at the back end here, and it moves quite easily. I lifted it from there and just eased it out. Here are the 2 old air filters. As you can see, they're pretty dirty, and there's bits of bugs inside. The new air filters are in. I'm halfway there. I've given the covers a really good clean, and I want to put some pre-filter in as well into this part, into the intake part of the cover. Air filter foam. This was $28, this particular piece. I'm starting to realise that perhaps moving the tank was not necessary, because there is no screw at the back. It inserts into slots. Same with the filter. There's only 2 screws that connect the filter. When the filter cover goes over it, it'll press the back part and lock that in as well. So it wasn't necessary to move the tank, I think, or maybe only slightly. But I wrapped the pre-filter, or the foam, around the entrance to this tube here, with oiled it, and with a cable tie attached to the front. So there it is there. So it sort of forms a little bit of a drum skin type of thing over the entrance to the hole. The tank slid back into position. I'm ready to assemble. I managed to put the side panels back on, and they clicked in, and the process is clip these 2 in here. There are 2 inserts here, and then there are 2 inserts here, and then slowly fold the rest of the panel around until it fits into all the locations. And this one went in pretty well. As you can see, the crash bars are the next part of the job. The bike starts up okay. The tank is back into position. It just needed a little bit of a nudge to just slot back in. Well, the job's done. We'll arc her up. 27,506,000 Ks. Everything else else is okay. Tank's back in place. Bike's running. Sounds pretty good.